Hello, everybody. It is Kevin down here in the studio. It's 12:30 today, and this is our 12:30 Friday segment show where we have we're gonna put air quotes today, construction worker in the studio from Messer in the critical care building out there that you will look out your window and see the 3 giant cranes and the Ronald McDonald house building that's going up. So, but today is not a construction worker per se, but more so, well, an architect. So I'm going to toss it over to him and let him introduce himself and tell us a little bit more about his role and like his everyday job.
Thanks. My name's Dan Shapiro, and I'm the project architect for ZGF Architects, which is one of many architects working on this project. So an architect, as you may know, designs buildings. So for the hospital project that we're working on right now, like we worked with the doctors and nurses and the patients and families to figure out like what rooms should be in this building and how all the different parts and pieces and how to put them all together into one building and decide where the windows are and the doors are and the rooms are and the sinks and everything like that. Except I didn't do any of that myself.
Okay.
Because that was done a long time ago.
Yeah.
Before construction started. So now that the construction is going on, I'm here to make sure that what gets built is really what we had in mind when we designed the building in the first place. And so that involves walking around the site, what's under construction, to see if everything is like we thought it was going to be. And one of the big parts of my job is answering questions from the people who are building the building when they're not sure how something should really look, or maybe we forgot to put a light switch in a room and they think like all the rooms have light switches, but not this one. What's up with that? We might say, well, this is a special room. It doesn't need a light switch. Or we might say, oops, you're right.
Yeah.
We should put a light switch in this room. We decide where to put it.
Okay.
And then they might also ask us a question like, what color should the light switch be? And they would go to the light switch store and say they have like red ones, green ones, yellow ones, blue ones, and bring us some documents that talk about that. And we would decide, yes, these should be yellow. So I do that for all parts of the whole building.
Do you ever get exhausted? Well, I'm sure you do, but just exhausted of like the every little thing that like comes up?
Well, you got it. Yes, I do. It could be super demanding, but the thing to keep in mind is the goal is to have this great hospital working for patients and families in Cincinnati. So keep that in mind, and that helps make the everyday, every little thing go really well. I
can just imagine like there's something even in here. So say we're getting done with a new install or something comes up, and I can just imagine you're getting close to the end you're not getting close to the end right now, but in the middle of the process of building that building, you walk into a room and it's like, oh, we forgot to put like you said, like a light switch. Like it's such a little thing you don't think about.
Well, a hospital like this has many, 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 many little things, big things, and everything in between. And so, I don't know all about it myself. So we had there was a team of maybe 20 architects and engineers working when we were designing it. And I'm just one of several architects working on this project. And one of the things I have to do is mostly I can't answer a lot of questions. I'll get a question and I don't know the answer, but I have to figure out who to call or who to talk to, who really knows about this thing, like about the light switches in the building or about the bathrooms or the sinks or anything. And I go find out what it's supposed to be, and then I can answer the question out there.
I'm glad there's people like this in this world that can do that, because it's not something I would be able to do. So we all have our roles, but yeah. So, okay. So can you tell us your favorite part of your job?
Well, it's sort of what I just alluded to. It's like figuring stuff out. Yeah. Like it's like sometimes like a detective story. Like you think like, okay, so this room without the light switch, could there possibly be a reason why it's not supposed to have a light switch? And if it doesn't have a light switch, how do you turn the lights on? Yeah. And you try to figure all this stuff out, and maybe it turns out that really it is a special room and the lights come on automatically, and that's cool. Or maybe you realize like, oh, it used to have a light switch, but we took it out or we moved it to the other side of the room. It's really just not in a normal place. Yeah. It's just like there's so many things to go figure out and people to talk to. I get to talk to so many different people, the builders, other architects, even doctors and nurses, if there's something that seems like maybe it could be different and we should figure something out again. I get to talk to so many different people. That's what makes it really fun.
Were you a big algebra person in school then?
Well, I tell you that my favorite subjects in school were math and art.
Yeah, well, a big part of architecture. So
well, that's just it, right? Yeah. So it's like there's like all the little things that got to be just right. Yeah. But then the whole building has to be beautiful somehow. Yeah. And for the people inside the building and for the community, the people that walk around it, and keeping all that in mind at the same time, it's really hard and really challenging, but it's also really fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So, and then, well, I mean, this kind of alludes to you alluded to it a little bit. What would you say that the hardest part of your job is? Is just kind of all encompassing with the details?
The hardest part of my job is remembering things. So what I mean by that is, I've been talking about getting questions about all kinds of stuff, and some kinds of questions you got to answer right away, and it's probably not that hard to figure it out. But there are other like bigger questions that you have to think about for a long time and go talk to a lot of people. And my biggest challenge is like forgetting to do something. Like I said, okay, I can't answer this question today, but I'll get to it next week, I promise. And then I forget. And then it's just keeping track of all that stuff.
Well, when you have that much stuff going on in your head and that much to remember in general, I can barely remember the little things, and I have maybe an eighth of what's going on in your head. So I think some people, maybe, I don't know, that would be difficult.
It's remembering stuff. Yeah. It really is. It could be about anything.
Okay. So when you started, or when you were a kid, like, and going through school and stuff, what got you interested in this role that you're in right now?
Well, I'm not sure exactly, but I can tell you that when I was a kid, so when I was like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, my dad was working on a big construction project. He's not an architect, but he was an engineer, so he's also designing parts of buildings. It was a great big construction project, and there were all these machines. We lived near the construction project, and there were like enormous diggers and trucks, and there was like concrete and dirt, and I guess I kind of liked all that stuff. And so, I got interested.
Well, it's all about, like, I feel like where you, what you're surrounded with as a kid, and makes you want to do more of that. So, okay. Well, we addressed the subject in class, so it was math and art. What about, like, so in your career, what has been your most favorite project you have worked on, and why?
Well, So, Whitney? My favorite one is always the one I'm working on at the moment. But I can tell you that before I got the chance to work on this project at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, I got to work on a great big project also in Cincinnati, which was Cincinnati Union Terminal, which has Cincinnati Museum Center in it. And so that was a really cool project because I also kind of like trains. And so this is also, it's like a combination train station and museum. Yeah. And I got to work on that project for a couple of years, and I got to go in like every single room in the whole building. It's huge. This building is enormous.
Didn't that just wrap that up?
Yes, it's been done for about a year.
Yeah. Okay.
But it has everything from, train station parts to like really cool giant rotunda space parts to actually talking about space. It has like a space museum part and it has a children's museum part. It's so amazing.
This is awesome because I'm seeing you like nerd out in this moment, and that would be me. That would be me in like the museum center. If I just had a moment to like do that, like you're exploring, nobody's there outside of you guys working on it. Yeah. But no, that's awesome. Can you explain like what was? I know this is outside of the critical care building, but when you guys were working on the Union Terminal, what was the project or the goal of that?
Well, the goal.
Or was it just renovations?
Well, it was to make it more awesome. To make it like even more awesome. Okay. Because it's like an awesome old building. Yeah. With like really cool stuff in it, but it was to like make connections between some of the parts that weren't connected. Yeah. so that you could like get around and really see stuff that was already in there, but you couldn't really see it too clearly.
Yeah.
Like there's like classrooms where you can have, well, there's summer camp stuff. You can go and do stuff there, but there's also like classes and kids activities and stuff like that. But the classrooms, they were really cool, but they were like really hidden. Like you couldn't see them. So we're in this Seacrest studio, right, with this big glass facing out, and people can see what we're doing. But now the classrooms at the Museum Center are like that. But before, it was just like there was cool stuff going on in the classroom, but nobody could see it. So did a lot of stuff like that.
All right. We're nerding out about the Museum Center right now. But so we had somebody come into the studio. You guys were watching from the outside. So to catch you up, did you fill them in?
Oh.
So this is an architect from outside, and he's working on the critical care building. But if you guys had any questions that you wanted to ask at all, or would you just want to watch and listen? And you can, if you have questions at the end, you can ask.
Okay.
Do you have any questions? Yeah, we'll do that. If you have any questions, I think she has a microphone that we can pass on to you.
All right.
So, okay, now we'll get to like the fun questions.
Okay. That was pretty fun so far.
Well, then these will be more fun.
All right.
So do you have any brothers or sisters?
I do. I have one brother. He's a few years younger than I am.
Okay.
And he also lives in Ohio. He lives in Cleveland.
Okay. Well, it's a part of Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all right. Okay, cats or dogs?
I think cats.
Okay.
Yeah. No, for sure cats.
That's your first strike, but it's all right.
No. It's really cool. No, because dogs, they like lick you and stuff, and they're all jumping and barking and stuff. So
they're just so excited to see you, though.
That is cool. I like that. But the cat. So with the cat, it's not like that. We have this thing where we just like forehead to forehead like that.
And then that's it.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's really chill.
Cool. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and then hobbies that you would say.
Well, I one thing I do a lot is I'm a singer.
Okay.
So I sing like not like with a microphone on stage, but like in choral groups. So
Gotcha.
like singing music with the large groups, I mean 50 people, and so I'm always in one, but sometimes I'm in two.
Okay.
And so that might be. I guess that's my hobby. I like to do that.
Every time we have somebody from Messer in here, I feel like we get a new fun fact about something that you would not expect. So no, that's awesome. But okay, what is one of the biggest challenges you have had to overcome as a kid or adult?
Well, I've had to do this twice now. It's moving, like moving from one city to another. But twice. Once when I was a kid and once when I was a grown up, I've moved like to a new country. And most recently, like I moved to a new country where I didn't speak the language.
Which country did you move to?
I moved to France.
Okay.
My kids are really small, so this is about 20 years ago.
Okay.
I moved to France. I didn't speak any French. It was really hard.
That would be tough.
I didn't know how French people do stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they like, what they don't like. I mean, really anything.
Yeah.
And so you just, here we are in France. Better learn to speak French.
Yeah, I know. You gotta adapt quick.
But also when I was a kid, I told you about this construction site that my dad worked on. Well, the construction site was in Pakistan.
Okay.
Which is really, really far away. And so it wasn't, I don't remember moving to Pakistan because I was maybe like really little.
Yeah.
Like 2 years old. But when I was 8, when I was in elementary school, we moved back to America. And that was like going to a foreign country.
Well, now I know
really
why
hard.
when we asked you where you were from, you hesitated a little bit. Now I know why, because this is kind of an all over the map type
That's right.
answer. But all right. So I mean, I'm gonna skip the secret talents question, unless there's another secret talent that we don't know about outside of singing.
It's probably we already used that one.
Okay.
Singing,
We'll go with singing. What about you guys? Any secret talents you guys have? DJ? That's a pretty cool secret talent. One of our interns wants to be a DJ. Can you teach her how to DJ? Maybe. Do you have a favorite DJ? Galantis? All right. It's pretty good. Pretty good group. What about you? Any secret talents? No? Well, did you guys have any questions for Dan over here?
About what? Which one? The lights you said you liked. Oh yeah. And wait, what are you gonna have over there?
What, over in that building?
Yeah.
If you want to describe that one.
So in the new building that's going out, am I pointing the right direction that way?
Yeah.
There's going to be patient rooms for kids and their families to be in while they're sick or they're getting better after surgery. There's going to be an emergency department for kids who need help right away. And then there's also going to, so those are the things that people can visit. There's also going to be a whole part of the building that you don't even know. It's like where medicines are made and stuff gets cleaned and stuff gets tested. And regular people won't be able to visit that, but that's part of what makes the hospital work. So all that's going on.
In the rooms for like when people are staying after surgery or something at a hospital. One time I've seen, it's on the top over the bed, just one LED strip covered with like fade panel, so you don't see the LED strip. But then there's different settings of colors. So there's calming and like northern lights, red, white, and blue.
In the new rooms or in the?
No, in where.
This is a different hospital.
Oh, a different hospital. That's pretty awesome.
He said that this one should have that. He loved it. That's what the first thing he asked for in this hospital, because we're not from here. And so he said, does it have the really cool lights I can switch? Because otherwise it's real sterile in the room with the white lights. And so it's just a real calming, like you just sleep with it on. And
well, I'm glad to hear you like that, because it is going to be like that in the rooms here.
I was going to say, I was like,
idea.
Well, good thing we are. Otherwise, we're like, Dan's going to go back over there and be like, all right.
I'm sorry you don't get to experience that now today here at the moment. But yes, that's a great idea, and that's going to be part of the hospital that we're building.
Yay. We're going home tomorrow.
Well, that's good. Good for you.
That's even better. You said home is Minnesota?
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, and I didn't catch your name. What's your name?
Carver.
Carver. And what's your name?
Connor.
Carver and Connor. Okay, that's easy to remember. Any other questions you guys want to ask? No? So I have some...
We love the scavenger hunt.
Oh, was this part of the scavenger hunt stop that you were on?
No.
It wasn't? Oh, okay. And you just...
found all the scavenger hunts. We already found one. Oh, he has a question.
What's your favorite sports team and sport?
That's a good question.
Well, I think I like a lot of sports. I have to say I do like soccer a lot, and I'm a pretty big FC Cincinnati fan. I wish they won more games this year. It's too bad.
Yeah.
It's a little bit disappointing. I did like watching Minnesota. Minnesota FC was pretty good. There you go.
Do you think the soccer took over from your time abroad for a while?
I don't know. I never really watched soccer. Did anything till I was here.
Okay. That's odd. Yeah, you would think it would have picked up over there, but all right. Okay, so a couple questions for you. So you see right now that the process or the side paneling is going up on the outside. Is that is what is going to stay on the outside, or is that just another layer that's something's going to go on top of it?
Yeah, so what you see on the building right now today is some glass and then some sort of shiny silvery panels between the glass. All the shiny silvery panel parts are going to have brick in front of them.
Gotcha.
So it's just a work in progress.
Okay.
It just the shiny silvery stuff is like the last line of defense against rain and water.
Okay.
So in front of that, it'll look really funny. In front of that, there's going to be insulation, which is it's like clothes for the building to keep you warm. And then in front of that, it's going to be brick.
Okay.
So it'll be the same kind of brick that's on the rest of the hospital buildings.
Okay. Cool. And then you guys had mentioned that's kind of the step that they're trying to get done before winter, right? To close.
They're trying to get it dried in. They're trying to get the exterior panels and the glass up by December. I think mid-December is what.
Okay.
Keep the rain out so that we can do more fine finish. There's a lot of work going on inside already. Yeah. But stuff that's going on inside right now can get a little bit wet, and it's okay. Yeah. But once it gets dried in, completely enclosed, then you can do more detailed work and stuff that you wouldn't want to get wet.
So in early when we started talking, you mentioned the early process, the planning process of how much you need per room, per floor, per whatever. So I'm early in your career, or not on this project, but you have been a part of those before, right? So how, I don't even know, where does that begin? Like, what do you start with when you're like,
I don't know. Like, so imagine we're talking about the hospital project.
Yeah.
You know, so colleagues of mine, other architects, spent about maybe close to 2 years talking to doctors and nurses and patients and families about what this new hospital should be like, and like figuring out like how many rooms should there be, what should the rooms be like, what do the doctors need, do they need offices for themselves, do they need to be close to what needs to be close to what other things does the hospital need in order to work, like cleaning places and medicine making places and all that kind of stuff. And you figure out all these things and figure out which parts need to be next to which parts. Like, so you can figure, like, you know, in a patient room, like the bathroom ought to be really close to the bed. Like, okay. But maybe like the medicine pharmacy place doesn't need to be so close. It could be on another floor. Take all this, make it, and try to figure out how you could put all that together into one building. Like, and how many floors is it going to have to be, and how big will it be? And you work all this out, and you get it closer and closer to the final thing, and you figure out how big it'll be, and then you figure out where the windows are going to be, and the doors, and the brick, and the roofs, and all that kind of stuff. So it's just it's complicated.
It's like a giant math problem.
It is. It's a big puzzle. It's a big puzzle.
Yeah.
Three-dimensional puzzle. But it starts with talking to people about, like, what do people imagine. How do people want it to work?
Yeah.
And what are their ideas about what it should be like? And then you take all that and you put it together and make a building.
That was a pretty good answer for what we can end on. Unless you guys have any other questions or anything you want to ask. Anything from you? Nothing?
Not today.
Not today? All right. Well, Dan, thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Hanging out with us for a little bit. And we will see the rest of you guys at 2:30 for Marla's game show. Bye, guys.